Hello, I'm Ann Gritch, and I'm delighted to welcome you to this segment of the Oral History of the Diocese of San Jose. And I am delighted that with us is Bishop Richard Garcia, the Bishop of the Diocese of Monterey, but a true son of San Jose, who has been just wonderfully involved in our history. So I'm so pleased that you're here, Bishop Rich.
Thank you very much, Ann. It's a great pleasure for me to be here with you and with Father Leger as well.
Wonderful. So tell us a little bit about your background. You grew up in the Archdiocese of San Francisco.
Yes, I grew up in the south of Market of San Francisco, a great area to grow up in. It was very different than it is now, but I really enjoyed that time there. We belonged to St. Joseph's Parish, which was situated on 10th and Howard. That parish, I think, has been closed now, but have a lot of fond memories of that time. And we lived in a flat, because maybe some people don't know what a flat is these days, but the building was 3 levels and we were on the upstairs one. And it belonged to my grandparents, my maternal grandparents. That home was theirs, so we shared the home with them.
Oh, that's lovely. And then you went to grammar school
at St. Joseph's, yeah. I started out actually at St. Patrick's School, which was also in that area in south of Market, because they had a kindergarten. And my parents had said that my sister should have gone to kindergarten. She was older than me, but she didn't. So they said, well, now you go. So I went to kindergarten there, and that's where I met Sister Eulalia, who was my teacher that day or that year. And it was a wonderful experience because I got to know her, and later on she was there for my surgery at O'Connor Hospital when I had my surgery many years after that. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
But that's where I grew up, in south of Market.
Now, did you go to St. Joseph's as well as St. Patrick's Seminary?
Yes, I went to St. Joseph's as well, and then St. Patrick's, and went to college there.
And then ordained as a priest of the Archdiocese.
Ordained for San Francisco Archdiocese on June 15th, 1973.
All right.
So a long, long time ago.
For all of us.
Yeah.
So, and as I remember, you went to Rome. You studied in Rome from early 80s?
Yes, 1980 to 84. Archbishop Quinn had the idea, and I think it was actually some priest that he had talked to, Hispanic priest, about having at least one of our Hispanic priests from the Archdiocese study, and then to be able to teach at the seminary when I would return. So that was the agreement made between Archbishop John Quinn and Bishop Pierre Dumaine. And so when the diocese split, Bishop Dumaine was very gracious and said, I'll continue to support you. You can stay there in your studies, and then when you complete the studies, we'll see what we'll do with you. So that's basically what happened.
So you were in Rome when the announcement was made of the creation of the diocese?
Yes, I was in Rome when the announcement was made, and I really wanted to come, but they told me I probably wouldn't be able to come. But then several people in the diocese paid my way, so I could be there for that. So I was only home like 2 or 3 days, and then I had to return to Rome for my studies.
And this was one of the first times, I think, that the priests of both dioceses were able to choose where they were going to be stationed. So, but you already knew that you would be San Jose because of the arrangement that...
Well, yes and no. But they gave us, 1 month to choose, which was very generous.
Yeah.
Other dioceses were not like that. Like the present diocese that I'm in, the priests had to stay where they were already assigned. But Archbishop Quinn and Bishop Dumaine were very generous about that. And so they gave us 1 month to choose. And for me, it was easy to choose to be with San Jose because I had only served in the southern part of the then Archdiocese of San Francisco.
So your work with the Central Pastoral, was that before or after Rome?
That was actually before Rome. Yeah. I lived at St. John Vianney Parish during those years, following up from Father Anthony McGuire, who was my predecessor. And then our offices were at Notre Dame High School. Yeah. And the Notre Dame sisters were very generous to us there, and we shared that space, and also with the people who were working in immigration issues at that time. They also had a space there.
All right. Now, you were very good friends with Father Mateo Schiti.
Yes, very much so.
He was very involved also with Latino ministry.
Right, yeah. He was 3 years younger than myself. and I got to know him very well, especially when he was at Sacred Heart Parish. As a matter of fact, I was ordained a priest at Sacred Heart Parish in San Jose.
No kidding.
Yeah, in 1973. Archbishop McGuckin ordained me, and I had a kind of fight for that ordination.
Not at the cathedral.
But what sold it was that I said, Archbishop, your Spanish is so good. You know, I said, this would be wonderful for vocations to see that, you know, one of their people was being ordained, especially in that very Hispanic community. So I finally sold him. I had to visit him 3 times to get him to agree.
Well, you were persistent.
But it worked. It worked, yeah.
Well, it's interesting. I'm also remembering when it was announced that when you became bishop-elect, we had an evening prayer for
That's
you,
right.
and it was at Sacred
Right
Heart.
there, exactly.
Yeah.
I
So
remember
full
that very
circle.
well. Sister Sandy was with us. I remember that.
Yes.
Notre Dame sister,
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
who had worked with us also.
That is
Yeah.
amazing.
And Sister Jacinta.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, because I emceed for that event.
Yeah.
Yes,
A lot
that
of great
was
memories from those days. Really a lot
quite
of memories,
wonderful. Yeah.
Great parish too. I love Sacred Heart Parish.
It continues to be
Yeah,
great.
yeah.
It really does. So I had a question. Let me just think. The work with the Central Pastoral. Was it evangelization? Was it out visiting people? What kinds of things did you?
A little bit of everything. We had immigration, as I mentioned earlier, but also we were responsible for the various groups that we had. For example, the Garcia community, the Encuentros, you know, both in Spanish and a little bit in English too, but also all the people that were working with marriage preparation. So we oversaw all of that. And then my responsibility was to visit the parishes as well.
Which of
where we
course
had
you
a lot of
liked a
Spanish
lot.
speaking. I enjoyed that very much, yeah. And the priests were wonderful to us all,
That's
to welcome us, and the deacons too, at that time. We also oversaw kind of a little bit of the diaconate in the diocese, yeah.
That's right, because
As we were getting the early deacons,
That's
yeah.
right,
Yeah.
that's right.
That
Vicente
first group-
Perez and,
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, that's
And
right.
several of them have died now, but Bishop, well actually Father Tony had started an awful lot of that because the bishop had requested it too.
Yeah, I remember that. In fact, we did have Helen Bungie, that's one of our
Oh, right.
interviewees, and she spoke a lot about the deacon formation program
Carl,
in the
yeah.
Archdiocese with Carl. Yeah,
It was a
exactly.
wonderful
Yeah,
experience with that,
it was really grand. So then when you came home from Rome,
Right.
you went right to St. Patrick's?
I did, yeah. They were already waiting for me. I came in the middle of the year, actually. They wanted me to start already in 1985, it would have been. So, but I actually had more time to finish my thesis, and then I started teaching. So in early '85 is when I started teaching at St. Patrick's Seminary.
Is
Yeah.
that when you lived at Our Lady of the Rosary?
Yes, yes, I lived first at St. Thomas, the old church, yeah, and with Father Bill
Linane, wasn't it, Father?
Linane.
Yes.
Yeah, I lived with Father Bill Linane and John Hester as well. The 3 of us lived there together for a while. And then I moved eventually to Our Lady of the Rosary. And
Father Dermody.
that was Dermody, Father
Yes.
Dermody, yeah. I remember very well when the earthquake occurred, I was so worried about him. And he was fine. He was at home. I thought he was on retreat with us, but he wasn't there. So it was perfect. Yeah, that was quite an earthquake too.
That was, in fact, I remember, I was in the worship office at the time and was working with you on the retreats,
Oh,
coordinating the liturgies
yeah,
when at 5:04.
yeah,
Yeah.
that was something else.
That was an amazing time.
Yeah. I was picking up the test that I was going to give the next day to our seminarians at the college
Oh,
seminary.
wow.
Yeah. But you know, it was really sad. I saw the only young man that died in Santa Clara County was working for Cellular One,
Yep.
and he was the young man that went up in the tower, fell with the tower, and wonderful young man. I think his name was Brian. I can't remember now, but I got to meet his mother and family, and I was just really sad.
Yeah.
You know, I had just seen him going up the elevator before that.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah, that was in that beautiful building.
yeah.
So that's where our offices were just before the
For-
earthquake.
for
We
a good while,
moved just
that's
a year
right.
before the earthquake.
That's right, yeah. Funny story about my mom, if I could tell that story too. My mom worked at Macy's for 26 years in downtown San Francisco. And I told her about the earthquake. I told her about so many of our seminarians losing everything, their clothing, their books and everything like that, especially those who were on the 4th floor, which hit the heaviest there. So she came down in her car from San Francisco, and she filled up the back of the car with all kinds of underwear and shirts. So she got out of the car, and we went to help her, and she could see just by the size of the guy what size he would need of underwear.
Those years
it was
of
like one of the
crisis.
funniest stories.
That is a great story.
But she could tell right away. That's my mother.
That's right. Very practical. You need underwear.
But she helped him a lot. So
Oh, that
was
is
good.
wonderful. Yeah, you must have
And
been.
some of those guys still remember that too.
I bet they probably remind you.
Mark Wiesner was one of them. Yeah.
That is a wonderful story. So now you taught at the seminary for quite a while.
Yeah, it was almost 9 years.
Did you enjoy that?
Most of the time I was at St. Patrick's Seminary, and then Bishop Dumaine asked me to go more full-time at St. Joseph's. So I'd become dean of the students just in time for the earthquake. So
Right.
we had to move everybody from St. Joseph's to St. Patrick's on one weekend. And it was just horrendous, and they really didn't have room for everybody, so we had to kind of merge a couple of guys here and there. But yeah, it was quite a weekend
Yeah, I can
to
imagine.
move everybody out.
Oh, Lord.
And
just
then
the
after
trauma.
that, we went to Santa Clara
Yeah, for that year,
just
wasn't it?
really about a year only,
Yeah.
I think, that we
Yeah.
had there. Yeah,
Yeah.
and that didn't work out too well, unfortunately,
Yeah.
financially.
Yeah. Well, it was just so unexpected. I mean, who thought we'd have a massive earthquake
Right.
like that? It was just, yeah, something. So when you finished at St. Patrick's, is that when you became vicar for clergy?
I became vocation director, actually.
Ah.
I became vocation director first, and then Bishop Dumaine asked me to live Presentation Center and be chaplain for the sisters too. So that's where I did, and I would go from there to the office each day. And but it was terrible, because if you forget something, you have to go back up that hill and then back down again. So often I had to make a list of things I needed for each day to make sure that I
Check
didn't have to
them
go
off.
back up again.
And that was when you had to make that left turn onto 17 too.
Yes,
They didn't have the
it was pretty bad at that
Yes,
time, yeah.
I can imagine.
But great experience there with the Presentation Sisters, and then a lot of the retreats that I was able to be a part of, the Garcias that were there taking
Yes,
place
yeah.
to greet all the people, to be there with them. That was a great experience
And it's
too.
a beautiful spot.
It really
I mean,
is,
just
yeah.
Mother Nature at her best.
Yeah, all those trees and all, yeah.
That's wonderful. So you were
So then
vocations.
after that, after vocations, I became pastor of, the parish
At St.
also.
At St.
Yeah.
Leo.
At St. Leo's, I was
Right.
pastor there. And I was only there for about 2.5 years. And then the bishop asked me to be vicar for clergy. So I moved everything to St. Martin's in Sunnyvale. We had everything pretty much in my room at that time. And this was only a month, and then I got the call from the nuncio. So fortunately I had not moved everything, had not opened a lot of those boxes. So all of a sudden I was vicar for clergy for like about a month and a half. That's about all.
Really?
Yeah, really.
That's
yeah,
amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't realize that.
So then I guess he got somebody else. I can't remember who it was.
I think it might have been Father Steve Tudis, but I'm
Could have
not
been.
sure.
Could have been. Yeah. Yeah.
So tell us how, I know that you were responsible for bringing the Incarnate Word Fathers from Argentina. How did that
Correct.
happen?
Well, it was actually Father Larry. Gosh, what's his name? Larry.
Argentina?
Largente. Father Largente had met the order somehow, and he heard that they were Spanish speaking and that they would love to come to another diocese in the United States. So their superior at that time came out to visit us, and I introduced the superior to Bishop Dumaine. Bishop Dumaine was very interested and said yes, so that's how they first started coming to help us in the diocese. Yeah, so it was Larry Largente who actually started that.
Because I remember it was Father Francisco Rios, I think. Yes, it was he, who, I think he succeeded you at St.
At St. Leo's,
Great.
right.
And the superior was Father Benito Lagos. And I remember Bishop Dumaine saying, oh, the water fathers, Lagos y Rios.
That's very good. That's good. Yeah, Francisco was my associate there at St. Leo's, and very well loved, and he loved the kids at the school especially, and playing basketball with them all and all of that. So I admire him a lot, and I know he just celebrated his 25th anniversary.
Yes, and it was quite an
as
event.
a priest. Oh, I'm glad. Yeah, I wasn't able to be there, but yeah.
What was it like for you being a pastor? Because you would.
It was a very short time, but I'm glad Bishop Dumaine asked me to do that, because I think, to be a good bishop, you have to have that pastoral experience and know what's happening in parishes. And fortunately, he allowed me to be that pastor, even though it was a short time. But he didn't know I was going to become a bishop, I don't think.
Who knew?
That soon. And maybe he did, I don't know. But it certainly helped an awful lot. It's still helping today, to see what our pastors have to live with, and how to help them also be the best pastors they can be.
What were some of the challenges at St. Leo? Because it's downtown parish.
The buildings were very old.
Yes.
The buildings were very old. They needed a lot of work. There were some great parishioners, though, who dedicated a lot of their time to try to help with that. But also financially, there wasn't a whole lot of money to work with. But also, because I was going to be still a vocation director and pastor, we found a man who could help us financially, with all the books and
Good.
all the various things we would need to do with the buildings and so forth. So that was Chuck.
Yes.
So Chuck has helped me a great deal. Yeah.
It's wonderful. You were always, as Bishop Dumaine, always very supportive of lay ministry and encouraging lay folk to become involved.
Yeah,
I'm
very
sure
much
it's true.
so. And they
in
teach us a
Monterey as
whole
well.
lot as we work and collaborate together.
It's
we
a
try to
two-way
do
street,
that
isn't it?
as much as possible.
Yeah,
Yeah, very much so.
So, January 1998, you were ordained a bishop.
Yes, this was in Sacramento,
Mm-hmm.
and I remember that day very much. High point for me was that my mother could be there.
I remember.
We had to take her by ambulance all the way from Walnut Creek, where she was in a nursing home. And then she spent the night at another nursing home that was owned by the same company up there in Sacramento, and then she was there. But I was reminded of that so much the other day, because I went to the funeral of Archbishop Flores. And Archbishop Flores has always been a great model for me, first Hispanic bishop in the United States and all. And I invited him to come, and he's the one that escorted my mother, or escorted me actually, to go to my mother to kiss her and ask for her blessing before I was ordained.
I remember that. It was one of the most moving parts of the ceremony. Yeah.
It was very beautiful, and I thank Archbishop Flores. Still
Yes.
remember that today. Yeah.
Yes, and I do remember Bishop Dumaine saying that we had given Sacramento a great gift in you, and we missed you.
Thank you, Ann.
Yeah.
I miss everybody there too. I still go there often though, because it's so close to here. And
Sure, and
we-
you are
we-
always so welcome.
we partner a lot, which is great.
Which
yeah.
is wonderful,
Yeah.
absolutely.
We share a lot, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. What was it like, though, I was thinking to myself, leaving San Jose for Sacramento? I mean, being a bishop, that was one adjustment, but then
Yeah,
also
that was a
changing
big adjustment,
locations.
Yeah, I only knew a few people there. Some of the seminarians that I had taught were become priest already, so I knew some of them, which was great. That was really wonderful to be able to do that, and to know a few of them ahead of time. I hit it off right away with the Irish priests who were there.
And there were a lot of them.
There were, yeah, and at that time there were. And what they really thanked me for was that I went to Ireland right before going to World Youth Day in Rome that particular year. And I was there in a seminary called Thurles, where a lot of those priests had been. So I was there for their anniversary celebration. And they were very grateful for that. So they were very welcoming to me. And of course our Hispanic priests were very grateful as well to have a Hispanic bishop also in there, in the diocese, yeah.
Because when you were ordained, there were not that many.
There weren't that many
Yeah.
there, no, at that point,
Yeah.
yeah.
There still aren't enough. But,
That's true. That's true, yeah.
but
But I enjoyed it. I got to know Bishop Wiegand fairly well. We lived across the street from each other after I got settled there, so that was really nice. As one priest put it, instead of borrowing sugar from your neighbor, you can go get chrism from your neighbor.
how many people can
It's
do
very
that?
handy, yeah, across the street.
Across the street.
Yeah.
And of course, Bishop Frank Quinn was in Arizona at that time, right?
Yes, he
He's
was,
still-
but he would come home often. He would come and visit at home, and he still had these wonderful ladies, as secretaries for him.
Yeah.
Jean Tamaki and Lil Tamaki.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's still going strong.
He
He's
is,
amazing.
yeah. I saw him not too long ago. I was there for a wedding at the church right across the street from where he lives now, in the nursing home, and he looks great. He's a wonderful man.
I
Wonderful
think
man.
he is the last one left in his class, I think.
Probably,
Yeah.
yeah.
Great man. My goodness. So then you became Bishop of Monterey.
Yeah.
So, and you've been here how long now?
10 years. It was just 10
Really?
years a couple of weeks ago, yeah.
That's amazing.
So 10 years here and 19 years as a bishop now. So yeah, it's gone by very quickly. But this was always our vacation spot, a special vacation spot for family. And we'd rent a little, it was a little like tiny motel basically, but it was a small room, but it had a kitchen in it. So we would stay over by a Sillamar. Yeah, and I always loved being by the ocean, so that was really a gift.
This has
to be
good
able to come
vibes,
back
this
here. Yeah,
diocese.
very good times. Yeah.
We were talking a bit about, Hispanic bishops. Can you give us some sense of what you see of the challenges facing both the Latino community, but also the Hispanic priests, the clergy?
Well, certainly the immigration issue is a big thing right now, certainly with our new president and everything like that we're experiencing. I think it's been difficult for us. The challenge for us here in the Monterey Diocese is we have a lot of people from Oaxaca, which is a southern state of Mexico.
Right. Almost
They're very poor people, and a lot have come here now to pick all the crops. One of the challenges is that a lot of them do not speak Spanish. They have a number of 35, almost 40 dialects that they speak. And there are people who like to stay within their own community. And we've been trying very hard, and some of our priests find it challenging here, but once we make an in with them, they're so grateful and loving. They have a special feast day for Our Lady, which is on the Feast of the Immaculate Conception also. But their patroness of our Blessed Mother is Santa Juquila. So that's Our Lady. And that's a special part of their history, asking Our Lady to help them, in that particular area of Mexico. So that's something that I've learned that I never knew before. No. And we're trying to reach out to those people a lot here in the diocese. They're centered in about 5 different parts of our diocese in the 4 counties that we have.
And you have a large, geographically, you're a huge diocese.
It's a long area, but not as long as Sacramento. No. It's 21 counties, so it's a little smaller here, which is 4 counties. 4 counties, much better. Yeah.
Do you have enough Hispanic clergy, deacons?
We never have enough, but we are ordaining more deacons. I ordained the first class of deacons here in the diocese.
Oh, wonderful.
We waited a few years before starting classes here in this diocese before, Bishop Brian and myself kind of took over. So.
Well, Deacon Deitwig, has he been involved?
He's helped us an awful lot, yeah. No, he just retired from here and has moved to Florida, where he had been before with his wife. They own a home there. And I think he's going to start teaching a little bit over there. He had taught at St. Leo's University in Florida, and he's going to help out. But he's always welcome back, because he's a wonderful gift for us,
So any particular fun stories to share with us about your time in San Jose, or?
Well, in San Jose, well, I just love the people there. So many of them still keep in contact. It's interesting that a lot of the people from my Morgan Hill days are now living in our diocese. An awful lot have moved into Hollister and places like that. So I get to see them, which is really wonderful. But from my very first assignment at St. Catherine's in Morgan Hill, I know a lot of those families. And others just come here on vacation and give me a call and say, "Are you available? I'd like to take you to lunch or something." So that's kind of fun. I like that part of it too. And then I still get invited for weddings or special celebrations in the life of these wonderful families.
Well, you are dear to us, so
Thank
it's
you
not
very
a big
much.
surprise.
You're all very dear to me too in San Jose. And I thank Bishop McGraw for being such a wonderful pastoral person as well, and for sharing so many gifts with us, and we try to partner as best we can as neighbors, even though we're in different provinces.
I know, but still, that hill is not that hard to climb.
No, that's right, that's really true.
No. Well, Bishop Garcia, thank you so much for taking the time to be with us and for sharing for this segment of the oral history of the Diocese of San Jose. It was just
A lot
grand.
of wonderful memories, and a lot of them are with you, Anne, with Father Bob, and all the priests and deacons and all the people of the Diocese of San Jose. So thank you for including me too.
Our pleasure.
Thank you.